Hi, I'm Alex. Today, you know, it would be easier if I talked about something that I'm known for, um, like I don't know, fucking Suda 51 or Yokotaro, some shit. But
What's that
today
mean?
I'm talking about. Shut up, Spencer. Today I'm talking. I'm just kidding, Spencer. I love you. Today I'm talking about. I take it back, Spencer. Lorne Lanning. He is the brilliant man behind the Oddworld franchise. That's his baby. Wah.
Where?
And the Oddworld franchise, has been going on since the PlayStation 1 days. So speaking of dads, my cat's yell, "Shut up!" Thank you. Sorry, my cat was yelling at me. Um, so Lord Lanning created Oddworld, and he's a really interesting guy. There's really not a lot of articles you could read about Lord Lanning, except for like some of his like most recent stuff. Like I know recently he was complaining because the PlayStation Plus, he feels PlayStation Plus screwed him over or something. But if you want to know, like I pulled most of this information from an extended interview on YouTube from Ars Technica. We'll put the link. I'll make sure the link is in the description of this YouTube upload, so that you can go and listen to the interview by itself. The interview is like 2 hours and 53 minutes long. And I listened to it a few months ago. I didn't have time to listen to the whole thing again before this episode, but I will spoon feed you some of the information that I remember.
Like a good daddy does.
Yeah, airplane. Um, Lauren Lanning, I know he grew up in New England, and in the early days of gaming, around the Atari times. Really interesting how he said he got into gaming. I remember he was talking about in a paper route, and he get into video games because it was super fucking cold in New England, and if he had some quarters, he would go into the arcade to warm himself up on his paper route. So he would go in and play some games, and that was around the time that like a lot of early it was like pinball and a lot of early video games really coming in. Also, his dad worked at Coleco, which was also very interesting. Do you think that's how he would have gotten into the games industry? But no. But that also the fact that he liked video games in the arcade because he liked the games that had like the cocktail tabletop setup, because he
Mm.
said that was the best way. That's probably the best way for any gamer to like meet girls or like go on dates, is because you're sitting face to face playing a game together. So I remember he was talking about how that was like a good social interaction, really got him into video games as well. Lauren Lanning's a really interesting guy. So originally, Lauren Lanning didn't want to. He really didn't have any interest in being part of the games industry. He actually went to school for graphics and animation and stuff, and he wanted to be in Hollywood. I remember his big inspiration was he said the first movie that he really saw that had like a behind the art books was like Star Wars. He said Star Wars was like cool to see what they were able to do with this fictional world and all these amazing effects, and that he was able to see that and think like I want to do stuff like that. He worked a few different odd jobs between then and getting into the Hollywood. One of which was he worked at a meat. I think it was like a meat or food processing plant, which is very interesting if you know anything about Oddworld.
Yeah.
And he said he remembered that like they would be there's food that wasn't quite spoiled yet, but if they shipped it, it would spoil during the shipment. So they had to like trash all that food. And I remember being so upset because there's people right outside, just living on the streets that had no food, but they that company, they were not going to donate that food to anybody. That food was just going to be destroyed. And I remember him talking about how like upsetting that was for him. Also, he worked when he finally did get into graphics and animation. He worked for some sort of military company for a little bit that made like prototype animations for like military tech, which is also very funny because that's not very Lord Landing at all. But he just kind of, I don't know, job's a job, right? He finally did get into the Hollywood industry with I forget what the company was called, Rhythm and Hue Studios in Hollywood. I couldn't tell you. They worked on Babe. Remember Babe?
The pig movie.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the little pig.
yeah. He worked there for a little bit, and through Rhythm and Hughes, he met the woman he would go on to start the Oddworld stuff with. I forgot her name already. It was like Sherry something. Um, oh yeah, it was Sherry McKenna, I think.
Sherry from Oddworld.
They would go to form Oddworld inhabitants, and the idea, I don't know, I forget where the idea of making it a game came from, but I remember Lanning pitched the idea to her as a quintology. He said basically he kept telling her video games, we should make this game. You know, you see what the graphics can do now, storytelling like video games. And she was like, no, that's stupid. We shouldn't do that. No, no, no. And then finally, he said one night he got her, like they were at a party or something, and he finally like sat down and was like ran through this entire quintology, like the story he had for this, you know, for these characters and stuff. And she said by the end of it, she was like, "All right, let's give this a try." And that's how Oddworld, the first Oddworld, really came into play. Is that, you know, the first Oddworld, or the idea of Oddworld in general is very much you can't have Oddworld without having Lorne Lanning. I think a lot of the ideas he had came from his experiences of working in the food processing plant, and seeing how wasteful they were, and seeing the more capitalistic nature, and also working in the military field for a little bit and stuff. This kind of came into play because, you know, Oddworld is a very anti-capitalist, anti-war game. It's a game about a janitor who finds out he's going to be turned into food, and he leads a rebellion against this evil corporation, and you know that's the plot of the game. Um, I always like whenever I find creators like that you can really get like their identity and stuff like in the games. Like I remember when I was listening to that full interview, every time he would mention something, it was like it just like rung a bell, and I was like, oh, like that's exactly where that idea came from. Like there's no doubt about it. Um, and he's still active today. Of course, the Oddworld games. You know, they had two on the PlayStation One. I would like to mention that apparently GT Interactive fucked up the prints for, I think it was the first game, and there was a glitch that they had fixed the glitch, but they had printed the wrong version of the game. And I remember Lauren talking about how like that he could not get GT Interactive to reprint the game until later. So like they were winning all these awards, but there was a fucked up bug in the later half of the game that nobody could get past. So I remember him talking about how awful of a situation that was because they had fixed it and they just couldn't get it, you know, couldn't get the game recalled or get anything fixed for that. And that has to be like one of the worst feelings. Abe's Exodus, the second game, actually they submitted the cutscenes for that game into some film festival and actually won some awards because, you know, those games had pretty cool pre-rendered cutscenes that told us pretty cool story. He also talks about like a little bit about how they jumped from PlayStation to Xbox with Much's Odyssey and Stranger's Wrath, about how they were looking for what had the best, I guess, processing power and stuff. So, you know, so they can make the film portions of the games and stuff feel, you know, like a lot more alive or whatever. So I guess Xbox was their choice, which, I mean, granted, it was the most powerful console of the time, but it was also the Xbox, and maybe Oddworld wasn't the right franchise for that console. And of course, he's returned recently because they've done like the remake of the first game with New and Tasty, and now they have Soulstorm, which I've read some of the interviews of Soulstorm. I think whenever the YouTube one that I watched was coming out, Soulstorm wasn't out yet. It was just being shown. But now that it's out, Lawrence talked about how he thinks PlayStation screwed them over because nobody really bought the game on PS5, and then PS Plus. He said there was so many downloads that like they didn't make enough. Like they don't really get paid much for those downloads. So he felt like a lot of people were getting access to the game that, you know, it's like it's lost sales basically, which I don't know how I feel about that, but you know, it's just interesting to hear him kind of air his grievances with the current state of like the subscription model and stuff. Very respectable guy. I really like Lorne Lanning, and I would really recommend you listen to that interview. It's pretty interesting. Strange dude.
Yeah, you mentioned that interview to me before. I was like, I gotta play a little bit first. I did buy the physical collection, so you know, give some support there. The way that you described the game makes me intrigued. We've been talking about Oddworld has come up as a possible game to map out or like to talk about or to do something with for a long time now. Just hearing about it and just doing like a little browse. You know, I see that he's gained recognition for his kind of vision. So it's, you know, pretty impressive to see and to hear. What would you say to Lorne Lanning if you could talk to him right now?
I mean, I'm kind of blindsided, so I'd say, "Hey, what's up?" I'm just kidding. Like if I could ask him something,
Your long lost dad.
or okay, what's the scenario, Teddy? Where am I?
You're at a roller rink.
Okay.
Okay, what's the realistic scenario, Teddy?
So you've just completed 23andMe and found that you are a connected sibling to Lorne Lanning from I don't know, somebody's grandma or something.
You're a connected sibling to Abe.
Are we like having lunch?
You reach out through 23andMe. Hey, I'd like to go out to lunch. He says, no, I don't do meat, so we have to go somewhere vegan.
Yeah. Where are we going? Can I go to a sandwich shop?
Are there vegan options?
Yeah, she's vegan options to sandwich shops.
Then
Bread.
yes.
That's true. You can get, well, it's okay.
You
Well,
wanna
I
get
just
some
wanted one of
bread?
those like I just wanted one of those like deli pickles, you know.
It's your
Yeah,
turn
those
to
are
start
really
up the conversation. How will you begin?
Oh, I take a crunch out of my pickle. That's a really good pickle. And then, you know, I would probably ask him about the cancellation and some of that of the game because I know like the Oddworld series kind of plummeted after Stranger's Wrath, which is a great game, but EA shot it in the foot by not marketing it. They just threw it on the Xbox and was like, "Yep, okay, bye." And then the game suffered because of that. I would be interested to hear about like the struggles between then and New and Tasty because I know there's a lot of canceled Oddworld projects and kind of like what his creation process was because like you know like that's kind of gotta hurt that this series you know failed you know like that and he wasn't making the profit he needed and had to shut down for a little bit. So you know it's cool to see him return. So I kind of want to know about the hardships of that era of his life.
Do you think that the 5-part series he had planned is what we have?
No. Well, in fact, New and Tasty is the first game, and Soulstorm is basically a different version of Exodus. It's the same idea. So maybe we'll get it. Maybe if they do 3 more games, maybe if you start at New and Tasty, maybe that'll be like the quintology. I don't know.
Cool.
Yeah,
You know,
I had a friend
No, go ahead.
that had,
friend?
yeah, believe it or not, and he had Abe's Exodus. I don't think, bless you, I don't think he played Odyssey, but he had Exodus. I don't know how. Like, I think his parents just got him that for some reason, which is a really random game to just get on a whim.
Yeah.
But they got him that, and he loved it, and we loved playing it, and we would play the hell out of it. But it was just so strange. It was so odd.
You know, talking about him working for the war stuff too, there was, you know, he talked about this back and forth he had with GT Interactive, where, you know, they were like, well, how does the character defend himself? And he's like, well, it really doesn't. It's like, well, you know, we want a character with guns. You know, we want people, you know, we want a game to sell. People like guns and action. Like, we want the character to have that kind of sort of thing. So his his like go around was instead of having Abe use guns, he had Abe like mind control the enemies, and the enemies have guns, and that was kind of like his go through to get GT Interactive to okay it. Was like, look, you can use guns in the game, but Abe never actually uses the guns.
Yeah, I mean that would be so counterintuitive to the point of Abe's.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, because Abe's like a scrawny little weak dude, you know. Like that's kind of the point, is that Abe is like his average Joe. You know, he's not like the action hero. So,
just a tangent. Cool. I don't know a lot about Oddworld, so while you were telling us his name, I looked up Lorne Lanning, and she's an actress from Baywatch, and I was like confused.
No, not Lauren. Lorne.
Yeah, I understand now. little shout out to Lorne Lanning from Baywatch.
She a dad?
Maybe. Anything's
Baywatch?
possible nowadays.
Yeah. 2022.
Year of the Ultra Dad. Cool. Lorne. I learned a lot.
Oh.
Thank you.
Sorry, Lorne.
Hey y'all, don't forget to subscribe to them button mappers.